Yo, what's up, guys? Today I'm gonna be showing off my budget option when it comes to water. This deck can get pretty pricey with all the expensive cards you can get right now, and I figured I'd just show a decent entry level option. Right now with main deck, extra deck, and side deck, this list currently comes into $120. A decent amount of that is generic side deck cards that you might already own, and if so, they'll drop the price down to around $100. And there is one $20 card in the deck, which kind of bumps it up a lot. But I'll explain that when I get to it. But yeah, let's get right into it. Alright, so before I get into the main deck, I just want to let you guys know that I don't have lower rarity versions of these cards. When making your cart on TCG Player or wherever you buy your cards, make sure to get the lowest rarity possible to try and stay under that $100 to $120 mark. Alright, now for monsters, first we have Mermails. We have 2 Mermail Abyss Megalo. We play 2 Megalo because this deck isn't as combo heavy as others, and you don't need to open Megalo that bad. You're able to search it. So we play 1 for early game and then 1 for mid game. Next we have 3 Teus, best Mermail in the deck. It's a 1 for 1, and it's a really good combo starter. Next we have 1 Mermail Abyss Pike. We only play 1 Pike because the normal summon doesn't come up that often, but can be there, and it's mainly used for a combo in the deck. Next, we play 1 Mermail Abyss Mander. We just play Mander because we still want to make Calamities. Calamities is a thankfully cheap card, and Mander helps us make that in a more budget deck. Next, we play 2 Mermail Abyss Gund. We have more slots available since we are playing more budget, and Gun isn't a bad card. And we are searching 1 Gund in our combo, so having an extra one for mid to late game isn't that bad. Next, we play 1 Mermail Abyss Lind. Lind is alright. It's a very slow, yes, but we do play Mermail Abyss Spheres in the deck, so she just kind of combos off with that. Next for Atlanteans, we play 3 Prince. Prince is an obvious 3 of. It's the best card in the deck, and thankfully it is very cheap. Next we play 3 Dragoons. We play 3 Dragoons because it's very obvious. Now, yes, this card is about $9 to $10 or so on TCG Player, but it is something that you have to have 3 of to run this deck viably. Next, we play 2 Infantry. Marksman isn't that great right now. People aren't really setting too many cards, and even if they are, they can always respond to the Marksman, so Infantry is just more relevant being a face-up pop. Next, for Deep Sea cards, play 3 Deep Sea Diva. It is the best normal summon in the deck. Even in a budget version, this card still does a lot. Then we play 3 Minstrel. It never hurts to snipe out your opponent's Nibiru, and this card offers a lot like your opponent's hand knowledge, what deck they're playing. You're able to snipe hand traps, being Nibiru or Ash or Imperm. And yeah, and then its on summon effect is also very relevant, letting you mill the top 3 cards of your deck, and then recycling a water monster back into the deck, like Dragoons, or putting Diva to the top of your deck. And then last for Deep Sea cards, I have 1 Deep Sea Artisan. Artisan's really strong, just being a really good follow-up, because you are able to turn 2, or say you go first and then turn 3, you normal Diva, and then you would special summon Artisan from your deck, and then you can mill the top card of your deck to special summon a water from grave, so then you can summon your Prince you use turn 1. So then just from your 1 normal summon from Diva, you now have 3 monsters on field to go into Lynx or Synchros and whatnot. So next for your random water extenders, you have 1 Lapis and 1 Moonling Glacia. And that is it for our main water cards. I don't play Jet Synchron or Fishborg in this deck. I don't think Fishborg is that strong if we don't have the Needle Fiber. So now moving on to hand traps. We play 2 Gamma Seal, 2 Ghost Ogre, and 3 Effect Veiler. These cards are all really cheap on TCG Player. If you can afford other hand traps, you can make this lineup however you would like to. But I just think this lineup is decently strong. The Gamma Seal allows you to handle problem cards going second. And then Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit actually isn't that bad in the format in general. And then Veilers are just generically really strong against most decks in the meta. Next, moving on to spells. Play 1 1 for 1, just being another way to get into your Prince. And then we play 1 magical Midbreaker Field. If you don't have call buys, this is the best thing, next best thing to have. If you do have call buys, I recommend playing those in your main deck very much, but this is assuming you don't have the budget for it. Next, we have one Monster Reborn to help extend your plays. Then we have one Abyss Scale of the Kraken. I actually think this card's a little bit more relevant than the Spell Negating Scale, just because a lot of players aren't playing that many spell cards right now that are that prevalent. But if you look at something like Adamanticators, or you look at like Combo Eldritch, this will do a lot more than the Spell Negator. And then for the traps, we just played 2 Abyss Sphere. This is a budget deck, so we are required to go a little bit slower. So Abyss Sphere just kind of helps you pace out your opponent. All right, so getting into the extra deck, the extra deck is really flexible, so you can really play what you like. I just figured these are some of the stronger options that I saw. So we have one Mermail Deck Lacia. One Lacia is really strong, just because this deck's a lot slower, so Lacia meshes a lot better with the deck. Next, we play one Area, the Water Charmer. She's really strong, being able to take your opponent's water cards, whether it's like an Atlantean card to go off yourself, or taking an opponent's Needle Fiber, which would be more common, and then linking off into higher link monsters. Next, we play one Nightmare Phoenix. You can also play Cerberus if you'd like as well. I just figured Phoenix is a little bit stronger since we don't have a main deck spell or trap destruction. Next, we play one Borlo Dragon. Borlo Dragon isn't bad. It's a little underrated, but it is the only link for it we can make in a budget build. Next, we play one Ling Karibo, just to manipulate our graveyard so we can summon the Moonling Glacia. Now for the Xyz, we play one True King All Calamities. This card's very cheap, and you can make it with the Abyssmander. It's just a little bit more difficult, but might as well still play it. It's a complete blowout. Next, we play one Mermail Abyss Gaios. This is the $20 card I was talking about. I think if you're going to be trying to play a budget water deck and you want to take it to locals and try and do well, I think you should at least invest into this or the Marincess Anemone card. Both do a lot for the deck and push it forward. I just think that this is a better option because of its huge on-field quick effect monster negation, plus the fact that high-level monsters cannot attack you. So I think that's a really big deal for the deck. Next, we play one Abyss Dweller. Abyss Dweller is an obvious card. If you can make this against an opponent, this card is almost like Calamities, just being able to activate the effect in your opponent's standby phase, and most players can't even play without a graveyard. Next, we have one number 37 Hope Woven Dragon Spider Shark. This card's amazing. It's definitely not strong enough to main in more competitive versions, but there is always a spot for this card in some water decks. What this allows you to do is when either you or your opponent monster declares an attack, you can detach material, and then all your monsters gain 1,000 attack. And then when this card is sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one water monster from your graveyard. So it is a way to trigger off Dragoons. It's a 2,600 attack, so it's pretty beefy on its own. And it could help OTK, or your opponent could just not read it and all their monsters would die. So next for Synchros, we play one Trishula. Trishula is really hard to make in this deck, being a little bit more budget without the access to Needle Fiber. But there are definitely ways where it can come up, maybe just not turn one. But like I said, this is a budget build. You can really play what you want. Next, we play one Ravenous Croc. Ravenous Croc is really just used to synchro off maybe something like a Megalo and Diva that don't really have a place in the field. Really, you just want to use Croc so you can get the extra draw off, and then you will probably want to link it off into something more beneficial like a Lacia. The 2 discard for 1 pop is kind of tough for this deck. You really don't want to be trying to do that too often. Next, we play one White Aura Whale. This card is a blowout against some cards. You can do so much with it going second. It really helps, and a lot of players don't really know how to play around it. And it revives itself an infinite amount of times as long as you have waters in the grave to banish to summon it. Next, we play one White Aura Monoceros. This card's pretty good in a budget option. It's honestly good in competitive options as well. It's just we have better cards at the moment. But this card can help to extend in some pretty cool combos that I'll show you in a minute. Next we play one Coral Dragon. Coral Dragon's pretty strong, pretty easy to get into using something like a Pike or Dragoons and a Diva. And then you just discard one to pop, and then when it's sent to the graveyard, you draw one. So it just helps keep the deck drawing into new cards. And then last, we play one Tatsunoko. Tatsunoko, it helps with our combos and can help get you into some Trishula plays. Okay, so finishing off with the side deck, you can play whatever you want. You're just trying to find some budget options to maybe play against like at your locals for any decks you know might be popular. So this one's just pretty generic. So first we have one Pinkertops. It's a special summon for free, and you tribute yourself to pop something. So it's generic removal. And then we have the third Snow Rabbit. We were only playing 2 in the main deck, so we've just maxed it out by playing the extra one in the side deck. Then we play a 2 DD Crow. DD Crow is really strong against some graveyard-based decks, taking out like the Eldritch cards, taking out water cards, Orcust, and then also even hitting something like a Block Dragon. You could play 3 if you want. And next we play 3 of the Lancia. Lancia is really strong against some decks like Orcust. This card's a completely blowout against Orcust if you can win the following turn. Next we play 3 Solemn Judgment. The Solemn Judgment is for just going first. You want something to generically just be able to stop everything. You could play more Solemns if you like. I'm just playing the 3 Judgments. Then we play 1 Red Reboot with 3 Cosmic Cyclones to handle back row decks. Cosmic Cyclones are a little stronger right now than Twin Twister because it helps deal with Eldritch cards so they can't replace themselves. And then Red Reboot is just a blowout against any heavy trap back row decks. And then for the 15th card, we play 1 Regeki just to have some type of monster board wiping. We don't have Lightning Storms, so this is, I guess, the next best thing, even if you even want to play it. And then as like a 16th card, I think Chalice is really strong as well. You could replace some of your hand traps with this in the main deck. You could play in the side deck as well. It's really helpful against something like Dweller or Calamities. Dweller does destroy this deck, and Chalice is probably the best option that we have to negate it if you don't have any impermanence. And then the same goes for Calamities, being a auto win for any deck if you don't open an impermanence or a Chalice. So yeah, Chalice is really another strong card. Just thought I'd give it a notable entry. All right, guys, I'm showing off a couple of the combos you can do with budget water. First, we just have a Pike and Dragoons, or Taste and Dragoons. So we'll activate Taste effect by sending Dragoons to the graveyard, by summoning Teus, and then Teus Dragoons effect will activate. Teus will add us the Pike, and then Dragoons effect will add us the Deep Sea Diva. Then Diva on summon special a Prince from the deck, and then Prince effect. Send Dragoons for cost to add Dragoons on resolution, and then Dragoons effect and Grave will activate, adding a Minstrel. And then Minstrel effect will activate, sending itself and Dragoons to the grave, being able to snipe out an Nibiru or hand trap. And then Dragoons effect will activate and grave again, adding a Prince to the hand. Next, we will synchro the Diva and Prince into a Tatsunoko. And then we will synchro the Pike in our hand with Tatsunoko to special the Monoceros. And then Monoceros' effect on summon will special a fish from the graveyard, so we will special the Pike, and then Pike effect will activate, discarding the Prince to add a Mermail from deck, and then Prince effect will activate, targeting a Dragoon's engrave. So now Pike will add the Gund, and then Prince, special the Dragoons. So now we will overlay the Dragoons and Pike, and go into a Dweller. And now here you have a couple options. If you have a way to extend your plays any further, then you can activate Dweller now, sending a Dragoons to add another water to your hand. And then also with your 2 level 7s, you could either go into a Gaios for a negate, or you could just send these 2 to the graveyard to special Lacia. And then you could use Abyss Dweller's effect to send Dragoons to add a infantry to hand. So then on your opponent's turn, you can use Lacia's effect to discard the infantry to add a Mermail from your deck to your hand, which would then activate the infantry's effect to pop a card your opponent controls. So those are 2 ways you can go about that combo, and that only requires 2 cards. So you'll be ending your field with 3 cards in hand plus a Gund. All right, so for our next 2-card combo, we have Minstrel and Dragoons. We'll activate Minstrel's effect, sending itself and Dragoons to the graveyard, snipe out any hand traps or Nibiru, and then Dragoon's effect will activate, adding the Deep Sea Diva to our hand. Then we will normal summon Deep Sea Diva, and then her effect will activate, special summoning the Prince from our deck. And then Prince effect will activate. We will send Dragoons to add a infantry, and then Dragoon's effect will add us a Moulin Glacia. Next, we will link off the Prince and Diva into a Mermail Abyssalacia. And then since we have 5 waters in our grave, we'll special the Moulin. And this is basically a basic way to have 3 extra cards in your hand. Your opponent lost 2 cards from the Moulin Glacia, and you have a Glacia, which will search for a Mermail on your opponent's turn while also sending an infantry to pop something as well. So obviously this isn't as strong as more competitive decks, but this is still something you can do trying to perform at a locals. For our next 2-card combo, we just have a Water and Deep Sea Diva. So first we'll normal summon Deep Sea Diva. Effect will activate. Let's see here. Special the Prince from our deck, and then Prince effect will activate to send Dragoons, to add Dragoons, and then Dragoon's effect will activate. Let's see here. Adding the Megalo. And then we will send Dragoons and the random water in our hand, special Megalo. So then Megalo effect and Dragoon's effect. You can add whatever you want between Mermail spell and traps you have, but for the Dragoon's effect, we're going to add the Glacia, and then we'll say for this combo, we'll add the Abyssgale. And then next, we will synchro the Diva and Megalo to special the Croc. Croc gives a free draw. And now we have 5 waters in our grave, so we can special the Glacia. And then we can link off the Croc and Prince to special Glacia, then equipping the Kraken, ending with a 2 cards lost in your opponent's hand, a monster effect negation, and 4 cards in your hand. Alright, and then for our last combo, we're going to be showing what you can do with just 1 Diva. Now, 1 Diva in a budget water deck isn't nearly as strong as some more competitive options that utilize cards like Needle Fiber, but we still can at least do something. So we'll normal the Diva, then Diva effect, special Prince, Prince effect, send Dragoons to add the Dragoons, and then Dragoons effect will add the Minstrel, Minstrel Dragoons effect, send, to add the Glacia, and then we'll just link off into the Glacia, special the Moulin. Now this obviously is the weakest combo of the deck. We don't have any negation, but we do have 4 other cards in our hand, and we have ripped 2 cards out of our opponent's hand, and we can use one of the cards in our hand during our opponent's turn to discard to use Glacia's effect to search for a Mermail for follow-up. Okay, so that is it for my budget water deck profile. I do want to show off a couple of the cards that you should be getting first for this list when upgrading it. Cards like Nibiru are obvious generic side deck cards that you will need to be able to deal with some of the crazy combo decks, including is Dark Ruler No More, handling something like Adamantimators or maybe Rockets if they ever come back. These are 2 very, very strong side deck options that you'll want for a long period of time while playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Next is Impermanence. They're not too expensive right now compared to what they used to be, and it's probably the strongest hand trap in the game right now, I'd say. Being able to dodge this card, Call by the Grave. Call by the Grave is a essential if you want to play a combo version of Water. You need to be able to have this to play through the 12 hand traps that people are all playing right now. And then for extra cards, we have Heckley Fibrex / Needle Fiber, we have Coral Anemone, and we have Access Code Talker. These are probably the best links you could get for your deck right now. Needle Fiber is able to do 1,000 things for your deck, and it pushes your deck over the top. And Anemone allows you to recur some of your water plays and push through some hard interruptions. And then Access Code Talker allows you just to steamroll through some boards and help go for game. And it only requires 2 monsters, even being a Link 4. So yeah, so that's it for the deck profile. Any questions, just message me in the comments. I'm happy to answer anything. Thanks for watching. Later.